Hey guys, Jared for the Smokin' Android here to bring you guys a bit of a comparison video of the Motorola Atrix HD LTE versus the Samsung Galaxy S3 i9300 model. Now, of course, everybody knows, or at least a lot of my followers out there know, that there are some internal hardware spec differences. However, again, this video isn't more of a speed test video or a raw power type of comparison video. It's more of a video of, showing a phone that is a couple of months old versus a device that, is really relatively new. So let's go ahead and jump in there. So as far as build quality material goes, they're both obviously rocking plastic. With the exception of the Atrix HD with the new DuPont Kevlar backing, which obviously aids against things like scratches and dirt, scuff marks, stuff like that. However, both of them do have a very good build quality feeling to them. No creaks or groans, nothing like that on either of them. Actually, that's not true. Over time, I've noticed that my Galaxy S3 here has started to, around the battery, more specifically around here, I'm feeling a little bit of flexing going on nowadays. Really nothing to be concerned about. Now, as far as device size is concerned, there's some noticeable differences. If I was to put these face to face together, first of all, as far as their width is concerned, you'll notice right away that the Galaxy S3 is considerably thinner than the Motorola Atrix, at least at the Atrix's, fattest point, I guess you could say, thickest point, being up there at the top with Motorola's sort of trademark hump there on the back end there, as you can see. Other than that, pretty comparable devices in terms of size. The Galaxy S3 is probably just a few millimeters wider and probably about a quarter to half centimeter longer, as you can see there. Now, as far as the displays are concerned, on the Samsung Galaxy S3, we have a 4.8-inch Super AMOLED HD display, and on the Motorola Atrix HD LTE, we have a 4.5-inch display with a true TFT with Motorola's new Color Boost technology. Both of them are absolutely fantastic displays. Now, if we're going to talk a little bit about the external hardware specs, obviously both of them feature very similar specs, like a lot of superphones out there. The Motorola Atrix, obviously, and we're going to exclude the proximity sensor and light sensor because most devices, at least 9 out of 10 devices these days, come with those sensors. However, both of them do actually feature an LED notification light. LED notification actually being new coming to the Samsung Galaxy line of devices, whereas they didn't have that on previous ones. So that's a bit of a step up for Samsung on that. Motorola has had LED notification lights for quite some time. However, the notification light on the Atrix is actually really small for my liking. Again, it's really based on user preference. However, it is a bit of a pinhole LED light. Whereas the one on the Galaxy S3 is a bit of a brighter, a bigger, and in my opinion, brighter light. And it just seems like a bit of a more sort of a softer type of colors that it produces to let you know that you do have, a missed call or an email or whatever it may be. Now, as far as the speakers are concerned, as you can see, a little bit smaller on the Motorola Atrix versus the Samsung Galaxy S3. The front-facing camera on the Motorola Atrix is a 1.3 megapixel camera. I haven't been able to figure out what we're able to record in yet. However, judging by its operating system and the date of release, it's probably capable of recording at 720p. However, with the Samsung Galaxy S3, I do know that it is capable of recording at 720p from the front-facing camera, and this actually has a 1.9 megapixel front-facing camera. Quite a jump over the Motorola Atrix, considering this is one of Motorola's more sort of flagship devices, if you will. I would have really liked to see that been bumped up to 1.9. However, these decreases in camera quality, at least front-facing camera quality, obviously does reflect in the end price point for users. You'll notice down here at the bottom, though, that there's no physical buttons on the Motorola Atrix, at least not on the front. The Samsung Galaxy S3, of course, has its hardware dedicated home button, and of course there's some capacitive buttons on the left and the right of it. And on the Motorola Atrix, it's just they're those new on-screen buttons, and in my opinion, that's really influenced or has been influenced by Google. Moving around to the right side of the device on the Atrix here, you'll notice that we have our power button and volume rockers both on the right side of the device, whereas on the Samsung Galaxy S3, we have our power button on the right side of the device and our volume keys on the left side. On the top of the device, we actually have, if I could just focus it, just give me a phone. There we go, that's good enough. We actually have our mini or micro HDMI, I can't remember what they're calling it these days, but a micro HDMI port, out port at that, as well as our micro USB port to accompany our standard 3.5mm headphones jack. Now on the Samsung Galaxy S3, all we have at the top is our headphones jack. Down at the bottom actually is where our USB port is located, which actually doubles as an MHL port. For those of you that don't know what an MHL port is, it's basically the same thing as an HDMI out port. Basically, you would purchase another little sort of a dongle adapter. You would plug into the bottom of that. You can actually have your device charging at the same time while plugging in a mini HDMI cable right into the side of your television, and you'll be able to mirror it fantastically, and it looks just absolutely superb. Moving around to the back of the devices, we do have on our Motorola Atrix, a 8 megapixel camera capable of recording at 1080p at 30 frames per second, along with our LED flash there, and a nice big old speaker grill. On the Samsung Galaxy S3, we have our LED notification light, another 8 megapixel camera capable again of recording 1080p at 30 frames per second, as well as a bit of a smaller speaker grill. And while we're on that topic, and we'll get into this a little bit further on in the video, the audio quality on the Motorola Atrix, at least coming out of the speaker there, in my opinion, is actually far superior to that of the Samsung Galaxy S3. So if you are in a situation where you don't have any headphones, and maybe there's a bunch of friends or something like that, you want to start playing some music, or maybe even just movies, definitely the Motorola Atrix HD is the way to go in those types of scenarios. Now, one thing you will notice on the Motorola Atrix is that it actually has this little sort of trap door on the side here. Opening this up actually reveals, if I can get it open, actually reveals our micro SIM card as well as a slot for our micro SD card, capable, I believe, of up to 64 gigabytes. And on the Samsung Galaxy S3, in order to obtain access to those, you actually have to open up the back of the door. And, of course, you've got access to your micro SD card, which is, again, capable of up to 64 gigabytes, and our micro SIM card slot. Now, while we've got the back of the door open here, I want to talk to you about the batteries. On the Samsung Galaxy S3, pull this out here, we actually have a 2100 milliamp battery, whereas on the Motorola Atrix, and keep in mind, this is also removable, which is really, really nice. But one thing I don't like that I did want to touch base on is that the NFC chip's actually built right into the battery itself. So if you wanted to purchase a third-party battery or extended batteries, that NFC capability is now gone with the wind. Moving over to the Motorola Atrix, we actually have a non-removable battery of 1780 milliamps, obviously considerably lower than that of the Samsung Galaxy S3. However, that's going to kind of stop you or prevent you from wanting to purchase a third-party battery. And that kind of also goes hand in hand with this having an NFC chip built inside of it. You know, you don't have to worry about losing it, although how many of us really lose cell phone batteries, right? Also, one of the big reasons why actually a viewer has recently explained to me that one of the reasons why manufacturers are starting to create devices without removable batteries is for, splash protection, things like that. The Atrix HD, from what I understand, also has this new Motorola Splash Guard protection. No, you can't go snorkeling or swimming, but, it's able to stand up against little, if you happen to dump a glass of water, something like that, right? Still, my personal preference, I like removable batteries. All right, now both of these devices are running Android 4.0. So, of course, ice cream sandwich, right? Are they going to be updated to Jelly Bean? Well, for certain, the Samsung Galaxy S3 is going to be updated to the latest iteration of Android 4.1 Jelly Bean. They have officially announced it, and it will be coming. In fact, the date of this recording, they've actually announced that it's going to be coming very, very, very soon. I've even heard rumors of the end of August, so we might be able to see that update within the next couple of days. Who knows? Motorola Atrix HD, upgrade to Jelly Bean? I'm not too sure. They haven't released anything, at least nothing that I've found yet, that would give me the impression that they are actually going to be updating it to Jelly Bean. Now, if we want to talk about the manufacturer UI, this is a big argument between a lot of folks out there, at least a lot of Android fanboys and girls out there. Myself personally, I'm not a huge fan of manufacturer overlays, that being TouchWiz on the Samsung Galaxy S3. However, with the Samsung Galaxy S3, I got to tell you that, myself personally, I'm a bit of a custom ROM flasher. Actually, not a bit of a custom ROM flasher, a big-time custom ROM flasher. And I can certainly tell you that Samsung has put a lot of time and effort into their new TouchWiz UI. It is absolutely fantastic. It's got a lot of things that I actually use on a regular basis. Mind you, that is when I do decide to flash back to a stock ROM. And to add to that, it's usually rooted, and there's obviously some performance tweaks and things like that that we all know and love. But the Motorola Atrix HD, at least this version of it, is absolutely fantastic. We've got, I don't even know what this new version is called, but it is Motorola's new UI, and it's absolutely fantastic. And if I was just to go ahead and show you guys a few things right now, it might be really very reminiscent to a lot of you of AOSP Android or vanilla Android, stock Android, if you were, for those folks that are just joining us today, with a bunch of cool little things that they've actually added into it. Now, I've recently reviewed the Motorola Razr V, which has the exact same UI on it. However, it doesn't have as many cool little gimmicks, bells and whistles as this one does. In fact, they're actually quite useful bells and whistles versus a lot of other bells and whistles that a lot of different devices and manufacturer UIs come with. As you can see here, we'll go ahead and scroll up, or at least swipe up from the bottom there, and you'll notice that it opens things up. So if I wanted to take a look at my browser bookmarks, I could just swipe up from there, and same thing with text messages, I can just swipe up from there as well. Really cool stuff there. They've also got this new widget, and I did want to note that this is the only, at least in my opinion, the only cool widget that they actually have on the Motorola Atrix HD. The only useful widget that is, which you can do little things like flip these around, and it's got some pretty cool, you can see sort of the light moving around on the widget itself there, and some sort of neat little weather animations that come in, as well as we have our little battery percentage there, and if you click on that, it'll take you right into the battery. I thought that was really, really cool. But again, the biggest thing for this UI on the Motorola Atrix is the fact that it is just so close to stock Android. You know, we've got the semi-transparent pull down, very, very simplistic. You can swipe away. We've got access to our settings menu there, the whole 9 yards, and as you can see, like I mentioned before, we do have our on-screen buttons. Gone is the way of the capacitive. And looking a little bit deeper into the Samsung UI here, it is, it has a lot of functionality, but it's also missing out on a lot of functionality. People have been complaining for a while now that the TouchWiz UI on the Galaxy S3, you have a lot of trouble making folders. It's not as easy as it is, say, for instance, on the Motorola Atrix here, where you can just drop one icon onto another and it just automatically creates the folder, as well as the ability to move around applications and widgets, and it actually resizes or moves around and rearranges things on your home screen to make room for the icon that you want to place there, which I thought was really cool. But that is not the case with the Samsung Galaxy S3. However, there are a lot of really neat features. One thing you'll notice right away is that they've got a ton of stuff, ton of useful features here in the notification pull down. Unfortunately, it's not even slightly transparent, which I do prefer the transparent look to it. It's just sort of an aesthetic type of thing, right? But you'll notice that we do have the toggle widgets right up there at the top there. So you have access to your Wi-Fi, GPS, sound, and so on. So many different options up here, as well as a quick accessibility to your screen brightness. Whereas on the Motorola Atrix here, you'll notice we'll pull down the notification tray and there's absolutely no options for any toggles whatsoever. Now, every manufacturer wants to make their device stand out from the rest for obvious reasons, and they do. They do a great job of it. Obviously, you can't copy the exact same hardware. No, I'm not quoting iPhone or Apple. But there are things that they do include in there to definitely separate them from the rest. In this case, with the Motorola Atrix, we actually have something called Smart Actions. And if I could just go ahead and find it here. What Smart Actions is basically a live 24/7 profile. A lot of different devices out there, you find yourself having to set up profiles. Myself, personally, I've never set up profiles for my devices. However, a lot of people do prefer to, whether it be at home profile or a nighttime profile or an at work profile. This one actually does kind of combines a bunch of profiles together. Now you're only creating one. Actually, you can create several different customized profiles or smart actions, if you will. And what that does is just allow you to do things like, say, for instance, instead of plugging in your headphones to your device to listen to music, and then you have to navigate to the music application and select what's going on there, you can have it automatically launch the music application the second it detects that you've plugged in either speakers or headphones, which I thought was really, really neat. There's a ton of other things you can do, but that's a small example of one of the many, 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 many things you can set up with Smart Actions. And in addition to that actual capability, there's a lot of different actions and settings within the Smart Actions app itself that are actually battery saving. You can save a huge amount of battery power. So even though we do have a larger 2100 milliamp battery on the Samsung Galaxy S3, the Motorola Atrix with its 1780 milliamp hour battery may last as long, if not longer, than the Galaxy S3, depending on how you set up your Smart Actions. Now, as far as the Galaxy S3 is concerned, as far as their sort of value-added applications, to kind of to get back to the Smart Actions of the Motorola Atrix, I'm not really happy with what Samsung's come out with. We'll go ahead and launch the application drawer there. And these are all the stock apps that come with it. Granted, this is not a carrier version, so there isn't a whole lot of carrier bloatware. However, there are things like the All Share Play, which I do find useful, but I never actually use it myself. I think it's a useful application, just not for myself. Chat On, yet there's another application that I don't find useful. However, there are some things like the FM radio, which I think is really cool. The Game Hub is yet another application from Samsung that just basically promotes and tries to sell you a bunch of games, in my opinion, are inferior, and just don't really add a lot of value to what I'm looking for. And moving on from there, if we were to look at some other things there, S-Voice is pretty much the big feature of the Samsung Galaxy 3. I mean, as far as applications are concerned, S-Voice, when it first got announced, was supposed to completely directly compete with Siri. Whether Samsung admits it's supposed to compete with Siri or not is, I don't know. However, it's pretty obvious, and it did a lot of the same features. However, it just wasn't as intuitive, wasn't as smooth, and wasn't as quick. But it's still useful for its application. Now, the Motorola Atrix, like I mentioned before, does feature a 8 megapixel rear-facing camera. So if we'll go ahead and launch the camera app here, and I'll just show you guys some of the differences. So obviously you can do portrait and landscape, and I'm just going to go ahead and focus for a closer view here. There we go, that's much better. We'll put the, I've just got a text message. So as you can see here, it's going to be a bit of a different overlay than that of the Samsung Galaxy S3, and in my opinion, it's a bit hindered. It doesn't have nearly as many options. Granted, if you're a professional photographer, you probably won't be using all the features that the Samsung Galaxy S3 has to offer. And if you do prefer simplistic camera applications, then the Motorola Atrix might be the bad boy for you. And it still does have a decent amount of settings. Going through some of them really quickly, you do have on-the-fly effects. We do have the ability to change our scenes, as well as the different shooting modes. So single shot, panorama, multi-shot, and timer. Multi-shot is a lot like the Samsung Galaxy 3 or HTC One X with their best shot or burst mode. However, I think it does need a lot of work. It's definitely not like the rest. And of course, we have our exposure and flash. You can turn it on, off, or turn it to auto if you like. And then, of course, we can click on settings here. Whoops, if I can just click on that again, settings. And as you can see there, we've got some different settings, widescreen. You can change around the volume key function to either zoom or actually take the picture itself, as well as geotagging store locations, and you can turn the shutter tone on or off, which I swear to God was illegal. Maybe you guys can let me know in the comments below if that's actually legal. I was pretty sure that they had actually outlawed manufacturers from including that ability, but that's a story for another day, isn't it? And so we'll go ahead and take a picture and just show you how quickly it takes these pictures. One picture, two picture. Sometimes it's strange because other times it'll go quicker. It's just not consistent in terms of its speed, which I really don't like. And of course, we've got our rear-facing camera, and of course, we can record video as well with very similar settings options as well. We click on that. We've got different audio scenes, which I thought was kind of neat. And of course, I believe, was this on the fly modes? No, it wasn't on fly mode. Regardless, really cool stuff there. You can turn the light on and off. So really nice to see. Now to go ahead and look at the camera application for the Samsung Galaxy S3, you'll notice right away that, well, in my opinion, the display looks a little bit sharper. Camera, in my opinion, is also a little bit higher quality. And we've got a ton of options in here, guys. So as you can see on the left side here, this is sort of our hot key or hot options sort of side here, and for a lot of you folks out there that have been subscribed to me for a while, you've already seen my review of the Galaxy S3. You're all completely aware of this. This portion of the video is really more for those that don't have either devices and are looking for a new device to purchase. So right at the top here, you've got your ability to switch from the front to the rear-facing camera, your flash on and off. And here we've got a bunch of stuff in here. Lots of different shooting modes compared to the Motorola Atrix. Single shot, burst shot, HDR, which is a really popular shooting mode. You got your face detection, which is both HTC One X and this Samsung Galaxy S3 have, which is very, very handy. Beauty, panorama, cartoon, share shot, and buddy photo share. And down here, of course, we've got different scene modes. Or I'm sorry, effects, if you will. And then we've got a whole nother slew of options in here. You can edit shortcuts, so if you want, you can change these around. Self-portrait, you can turn the flash on and off from this setting here. Again, that can just be accessed right there. Different shooting modes, so if I was to go ahead and click on that, of course, we bring those back up again. And HDR, all those good ones there. Different scene modes, as you can see. So different scene modes there for you. You've got the exposure value, focus. So you've got different focus modes, autofocus and macro, which I haven't been able to find in the Motorola Atrix, which is a pretty popular shooting mode for a lot of people. We've got the timer, effects, resolution, white balance, ISO. We've got metering, outdoor visibility, anti-shake, auto contrast, guidelines, image quality, GPS tagging. You can change around the storage. The whole 9 yards. I mean, this camera is really fantastic. Now let's go ahead and do some speed tests of the camera. So, as you can see there, we took a whole bunch of pictures really, really quickly. So as far as the camera application goes and its performance, I'm definitely going to have to hand this one off to the Samsung Galaxy S3. Motorola still has, in my opinion, quite a ways to go if they do want to compete in terms of, camera reliability and the quality that comes with the Samsung Galaxy S3. Now, the call quality on both of these devices have been good. They've been good. I've really been happy with the call quality on my Samsung Galaxy S3, and I've gotten a lot of compliments, or at least I ask people how I sound on the other end to them, and a lot of them say I sound absolutely fantastic, better than in person, which was a bit of an insult, but I'll take it as it is. However, on the Motorola Atrix, I did find it was definitely far superior to the Galaxy S3 in terms of call quality. Both the recipient claimed that I sounded better on the Atrix than on the Samsung Galaxy S3, and at least on my end of things, listening to the caller was so much clearer. I mean, night and day difference, the Atrix compared to the Galaxy S3. The Motorola Atrix, if you do a lot of talking on your phone, which I don't, that's why it doesn't bother me so much in the Samsung Galaxy S3, but if you do a lot of talking, and that's sort of one of the main functions of a phone for you, definitely the Motorola Atrix is the way to go. In my opinion, the speaker managed to get louder, and it was clearer than that of the Samsung Galaxy S3. Big win for the Motorola Atrix team there. I can't say enough good things about the call quality. Really fantastic stuff. Now, as far as the music applications go, I'm not going to go ahead and do demonstrations right now because this video is running a little bit late. However, I can tell you, in my personal opinion, the difference is, and I'll just go ahead and turn the screens off here. The difference is in the speakers. Now, I'm not talking about with headphones on. With headphones on, you can do a bunch of different stuff. There's a lot of different factors that take place there. One being the sound, or I'm sorry, the bit rate and quality of the actual MP3 or audio file that you're trying to play, as well as the quality of the headphones really play a big part in that as well, and mainly the quality of the headphones. But if we're talking about just external speakers, trying to fill a room with sound. The Motorola Atrix, as I mentioned earlier in the video, is definitely the way to go. It does have a bigger speaker. That doesn't always mean that it's going to be better sound. However, in this case, it may be the case. Motorola Atrix, in my opinion, has a higher volume range than the Samsung Galaxy S3. It's sharper, it's clearer, the treble's better, and the little tiny bit of bass that these little tiny speakers do put out is a lot more noticeable on the Motorola Atrix. So, but as far as videos and playing videos and video games are concerned, because I know that's what a lot of you might be wondering, which one's better for playing video games? Well, I'm going to hand that to the Samsung Galaxy S3. Again, this is a video comparison of, a big-time superphone compared to a superphone that has some specs that aren't as high-end as the Samsung Galaxy S3, but are quite comparable. So again, for the difference in price points, value for what you get for your money, I would have to hand it to the Motorola Atrix. The Samsung Galaxy S3 is an expensive device. By no means is it cheap. And there's a lot of great things about it. A lot of things that people prefer and will prefer. However, if you're looking for a device that gives you a lot of what the big boy phones do these days, the most premium Android devices out today, but you don't want to spend that type of money, the Motorola Atrix, in my opinion, at this point in time, is probably one of the best devices you can purchase. Again, for its price point. So anyways, guys, that's it for now. Hopefully, if you are in the market for either of these devices, I've helped you sort of make up your mind on them. If you like the video, show me some love by hitting that likes button down below. You might want to subscribe for more videos like this in the future. And make sure you follow me on Twitter, Google+, and Facebook. Stay up to date with all the videos that I release. Sometimes may not show up in your home subscription box on YouTube there. Anyways, guys, that's it for now. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers.